RSS asked to assess Fagundes murder. Officer goes missing. Officials say nothing wrong in Chinese landing. And bids for energy project to begin soon. Hi, I'm Enrico Bulford, and this is Uncut News. You see news happening? Send us a tip on WhatsApp at 592-659-6151. On Monday, the president said he has asked the CARICOM regional security system to investigate the murder of Ricardo, paper shorts Fagundes. He told Demerara Waves that the government has asked the RSS for help into the allegations by Sergeant Dion Bascom that a senior officer was paid $30 million by the son of a local gold dealer to cover up the killing. He said the RSS has also been tasked with reviewing and assessing all aspects of the investigation so far, and not focusing on the Bascom allegations alone. Jagdeo is rejecting the opposition-nominated GCOM commissioner's request to use biometric systems during the elections. A biometric system is one that uses physical characteristics such as fingerprints to help identify people. The opposition believes that this is a measure that will help prevent voter fraud, but Jagdeo called such a system a, quote, restriction on people's right to vote, end quote, and can potentially become a tactic used to challenge future elections results. A biometric system is among the recommendations the opposition has proposed for amendments to the Representation of the People Act. The government wishes to pass the amendments into law before the local government elections expected by year's end. Yesterday, the president met with the Prime Minister of Barbados and the governor of the Brazilian state of Roraima at the Governor's Palace in Boa Vista, Brazil. A statement from the Office of the President said that discussions focused on agriculture, trade, infrastructure, and strengthening relations between Guyana, Barbados, and the state of Roraima. 3 persons were arrested recently following reports of an alleged fraud committed at Nan Persad Rice Company in Quarantine, Belize. This was after the management reportedly discovered 16 fraudulent transactions committed on the company between April 18th and the 28th of June 2022, totaling over 3.7 million Guyana dollars. The 3 fraudsters allegedly forged one Burpees farmer's signature to obtain millions in credit for fertilizers and spare parts. The case is currently under investigation. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's Car of the Week. Currently on sale is this 2016 Suzuki Jimmy Sierra 4-wheel drive. It comes with regular and low-range 4-wheel drive, Bluetooth, mark rims, new tires, TV, CD, stereo, fog lamps, back camera, and much, much more. Buy cash for $3.4 million, or pay as low as $700,000 down with around $67,000 monthly for 5 years, and it is yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit the showrooms at Lot 171 Peter Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamar Street, and tell them the Rico sent you for this sweet deal. The family of a police officer has reported him missing for nearly a week. He has been identified as Keith Seymour of Haslington, East Coast Demerara. Guyana Daily News says Seymour is on annualized leave and has not made contact with his relatives since last Tuesday. He has not answered his phone during this time as well. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of Seymour is asked to contact the nearest police station. On Friday, the CCJ upheld the murder conviction for Bibi Sharima Gopal and freed Jarvis Small of the 2010 murder of his 16-year-old stepdaughter, Nisa Gopal. While upholding the mother's conviction, they reduced her prison time to 30 years. The court, in allowing Small's appeal, ruled that he was gravely prejudiced by a joint trial with Gopal, meaning that he could not have properly defended his case. Gopal's sentence was reduced as the court called the punishment grossly disproportionate and manifestly excessive. She will be eligible for parole after 15 years. On Friday, 31-year-old Leon Lewis was charged for the August 15th accident that claimed the life of 53-year-old pedestrian Prahalad Prasad at Lusignan Public Road on the east coast of Demerara. Lewis was placed on $500,000 bail and will return to court on October 13th. However, he is scheduled to appear in court today to answer charges related to several other traffic offenses. The probe into the death of 12-year-old Raiwati Puran remains open, and so is the question about who should be held accountable for the accident that eventually claimed her life. Puran was struck down along the Industry Public Road on the east coast of Demerara on April 24, 2022, and succumbed to her injuries 7 weeks after the accident. Puron sustained a broken hand, broken ribs, a punctured lung, and suffered from internal bleeding. The child was under the supervision of Bless the Children's Home Orphanage. So, you need a part for your truck, and you looked your eyeballs out and can't find it? Did you check Powered Automotive? Get high-quality DAF, International, Freightliner, Bedford DM, or Scammell truck parts at the lowest prices at Powered Automotive. Visit them at Lot 1161 EE Eccles. I'll call them on telephone number 6970171. Save bigger truck parts at Powered Automotive, the #1 heavy-duty truck parts store in Guyana. Tu Shao of Chinese Landing, Oren Finance, told Starbrook News that the officers from the GGMC and the EPA said they found nothing wrong during their visit to the Tassawini mines. The report to the village council was presented on Saturday following a 3-day visit to the indigenous community in Region 1. However, Finance said that the miners were already aware of the visit days before the team had arrived, and they hid several pieces of illegal equipment, and over half of the miners hid in nearby villages until the officers finished their assessment. The developers of the Vredenhoop shore base have assured residents in the area there will be no disruptions to their livelihood. However, reports have already surfaced that Phase 1 of the project, the dredging of the Demerara River, has already affected the catches of fishermen and even grounded some boats in locations where they would usually just sail right past with ease. In response to these complaints on Saturday, the management of NRG Holdings promised to compensate fishermen who are not registered with the Fisheries Department. Additionally, further dredging works will begin within the next 2 to 3 weeks from the western part of the Demerara River mouth towards the shore base. Now for today's oil update. The government expects to begin receiving bids for the gas-to-energy project in early September. The natural gas-fired power plant and the natural gas liquids plant is expected to produce up to 300 megawatts of power. And according to Jagdeo, quote, "We're selling at 30 cents per kilowatt hour. So if we sell at 15 cents and you're generating at 4 cents per kilowatt hour, we can have enough money to build a proper smart grid and still make a profit and pay back for the entire infrastructure. And then we have our emissions cut by more than 50% because we are now using cleaner fuel." End quote. The entire project, including the pipeline, is now estimated to be about $1.7 billion, nearly double the originally proposed cost of around $900 million. Construction is expected to be completed by late 2024. It might not be robbery season, but the streets are still mean. That's why you need to get security for your home and business through Sheriff Security Service. Sheriff Security offers well-trained guards, armed and unarmed patrol, marine patrol, canine services. These people even got drones. Why? Because your security is their highest priority. You've seen the rest, now hire the best. Hire Sheriff Security Service today. Now for our Uncut News, here's a poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Guyana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it was to us. On Friday, Furry Knight responded with, "Is there no news on the way minibus and truck drivers drive on the roads?" RC View Farm says, "Can you address the prevalence of gangs in the country within places like the GPF and the prisons? I've never heard any journalists address this topic." Navendra Lal says, "A lot of teachers stealing the cash grant and parents need to open up on this." Is this really a thing? I really haven't heard this except for the 2 isolated incidences that the ministers mentioned, but if you have information, please come forward with it. And finally, Tootie Dehan says, "When I hear about the NIS money problems, I have to take it back to Mr. Luncheon and the insurance company. Do you guys remember him? Oh, I remember him. And I think everyone deserves a second chance to do right to themselves, but only if they needed it. But a man like Luncheon should never be a free man in Guyana." Oh my, that's some strong feelings to have for him, but I understand where it comes from. So, before we get to tonight's question, you can multiply your cash by selling Digicel Top-Up. This is a legit way you can earn some extra money at your business or supplement your current hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy by linking with Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. Now for tonight's question. I want to know, do you support the opposition's call for biometric data to be used for voting? Or do you also agree with Jagdeo that it's an infringement on people's rights? I want you to think about that question. Tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight, and check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Enrico Bulford saying good night, folks.